One of the problems that we know is people go online and they're not sure this came from another country, maybe from China.
Wow, that's amazing. American products. I love that. You just heard from none other than MSNBC's that a flood of masks are being made by U.S. companies and very available, including in Florida. But according to our previous guest, Democrat House leadership is opting to distribute masks made in China to House lawmakers instead. And we're, of course, are still waiting for Speaker Nancy Pelosi and the House Democrats to respond to this story. We haven't heard yet. Joining us now with reaction and the growing outrage is Florida Republican Congresswoman Cammack. Congresswoman, welcome to the show. Obviously, we were just talking to your colleague, Congressman Rodney Davis. I know you guys just got back, but there are N95 masks being made in your own state of Florida. So what does the Florida delegation think of the fact that they're being issued these Chinese masks paid for by U.S. tax dollars when they could be helping Florida companies?
Well, good to see you both. Yes, we're just back, and I can say definitively that we think that the Chinese Communist Party, their government, well, quite frankly, they suck. I mean, we get these masks delivered to our office. Of course, I've been doing a little graffitiing here. But the best part, and I know, Sean, you have a bag of these, on the back it says application. And it reads, this face mask is good for wind-proof and protection the face against cold weather. Now, I'm reading that verbatim. That's very, very confusing what I just said, but that's what the instructions are. But the fun part on this, and again, because we know these are made in China, there's a scratch-off at the bottom of these masks where they encourage you to go scan this QR code and then enter your data to make sure that you have a legitimate, genuine KN95 protective mask. Isn't that clever? They give those to members of Congress, and then they want us to enter our data into their database for this Chinese company. And this has been approved by the Democrats. All the while, we know that there are masks manufactured here in America that are available. All of this leads up to what we're doing this week, introducing the Buy American Act. The legislature here on Capitol Hill, we are appropriated about $5 billion every single year. And I sent my team down into our supply store to see just exactly how many products they could see right on the shelf that are being sold in the U.S. Capitol are made in China. They've been able to identify over 30 in a 15-minute period. This bill that we're introducing forces the House of Representatives to actually buy American, because if we demand it here in our country, we can start it here up in Capitol Hill and lead by example for the first time in a long time.
Yeah, when you're done with that, you might want to consider Don't Be an Idiot bill. That would apply to all of the Democrats. I mean, I don't even know where to go in this. I mean, you grew up on a cattle ranch. You know firsthand what it takes to run a small business. And so, like, we have all of these companies, like the ones that we just mentioned. There's a website called American Mask Manufacturers Association that has dozens of U.S. companies that they're saying, hey, look, we shifted. We're making these masks. Please help us. And they were pleading to the Biden administration to end these unfair trade practices, and thousands of jobs are already being lost. These people retooled, they refigured. I mean, it blows my mind. But, you know, I hadn't seen the QR code at the bottom, which just shows, once again, how stupid they are. But Lindsay and I were talking during the break, and Lindsay looked at the package and goes, oh, you want to see one more? Check out your package, because I don't know what yours says. But it says, these are good for 3 years. Do you know when these were manufactured? 2019. So Pelosi even got she got the old ones. They're only good for a little while longer. I mean, literally, you bought Chinese masks. They're scanning your data, and they were the bottom of the barrel. But these are 2019, and they say good for 3 years, valid period. And the certificate is in the bag in Chinese. I mean, I don't know how much dumber. Like, at some point, I feel like we paid double or something. Like, it gets so stupid that we probably did something where they convinced us that we had to pay extra for, like, you know, something, because they couldn't. Every time I think it couldn't get dumber, it does. But I want to get back to a point that we brought up with Congressman Davis. You have this bipartisan delegation in Florida. Have you or will you walk up to one of your Democratic colleagues and just say, hey, we make these in Florida. Your leadership bought these in China.
Oh yeah, and that's the crazy part about this. Each one of our offices, Republican and Democrat, we got 4 bags of these. 4 bags. And in the Florida delegation, for example, I like to say that we hang tough. When it comes to Florida issues, we typically work well together. So I've already begun having conversations with my Democrat colleagues, of those that actually show up and don't vote proxy, but of those that show up and we can have conversations on the House floor. We actually have been talking about how not only is this ridiculous we're buying Chinese masks, but the lack of efficacy of these masks. This does nothing. A KN95 does nothing because an N95 mask has to be pressure sealed. My husband's a first responder. His mask on his face has to be pressure sealed and tested. These do nothing. And the CDC has just now started admitting that the cloth masks that they've been pushing forever do nothing. And then we know, based on the studies, that this does nothing to stop the transmission of COVID. So it's all just a big show. It's all theatrics. And I think our Democrat colleagues are witnessing the fallout of this, and they will be, I believe, on board, especially given since Biden had made such a play for Made in America. Why couldn't they not support the Buy American Act that will be dropping this week? I'll put money on it. I think we can make it bipartisan, and we'll have to revisit this at the end of the week, Sean.
Well, I hope we do. And, I hope he gets asked about that tomorrow in his press conference. Congresswoman Cammack, always good to have you. And like I said, we'll check back in and see if your Democratic colleagues will align with you on this ridiculousness.
Good to see you both.